God. I repeat, have faith in God. And now let me come to my first point and explain. These words were spoken by the Lord Jesus Christ aloud and to the apostle Peter 3 days before he was crucified. Why? Why did he say to one of the 12 apostles, Peter, have faith in God, as if he hadn't got very much? Why? Well, because the day before, Peter heard Jesus. You see, this is the last week of Jesus' life. On the Sunday, first day of the week, he had Palm Sunday ride into Jerusalem. Then he went back to Bethany. Then he came Monday. And it was on Monday that Jesus goes to a tree, fig tree. It's got leaves. Leaves, fruit. But when he went there for something to eat, no fruit, just leaves. And so Jesus said what I read to you. And it was rather sad in a way, but Jesus had his reasons for looking at that tree and saying, that's a picture of my country. My country, supposed to be in covenant with God, and yet look how they behave. They don't obey God's will. They turn away from God. They do what they want. And so this fig tree with leaves but no fruit is like a picture of my country, the Jewish country. And so we're told he cursed it, saying words to the effect, let no one eat anything of it. So now you see, it's Tuesday. They've gone back to Bethany. They come again to the temple in Jerusalem, which Jesus did every day of this final week. And this is Tuesday. And as they're going along, Peter says, oh, look, Master, a tree. You remember what you said yesterday? Look, the tree's dead, withered, nothing. It's all happened within 24 hours. And so, because he's so surprised, Jesus says to him, well, you shouldn't be. If we speak with faith and we ask God for something by faith, and it's God's will to give us, and we know how to live, and we know how to pray, and we also forgive other people when we ask God to forgive us, otherwise we won't be forgiven. Then says Jesus, you can do wonderful things. You apostles, and not you apostles only, Christians, anywhere, if they've got faith in God, can ask for this and for that. And if they don't doubt but believe, wonderful things can follow. And so I'm bringing you a text. Short text, but very important words. Have faith in God. If you read the Bible, as we all should every day, what we read we should believe, and it should teach us so that we come to believe in the mighty God that God is, and the mighty Jesus Christ, who came into the world as a baby and grew up to be a man, and then to die, and to die for sinners. And then, of course, having died by crucifixion and buried, he raised from the dead and is alive forever, never to die anymore. And on the 40th day, he rises and goes back to his Father, and he is glorified. My Father, I finish what you want me to do. And the Father said, sit on my right hand until I make all your enemies my footstool. And of course Jesus believes whatever his Father says and does whatever his Father says. And so that's the burden of my sermon to all of you this morning. Have faith in God. So I ask you, please, ask yourself, do I have faith in God? And if so, how much? Little or lots? Do I believe what the scriptures teach? I'm a sinner and I act upon it and say, Lord, please, I believe what you're telling me. Please forgive me. Please help me to be changed into your servant and into a son or a daughter of the Almighty. Faith, you see, in God is a very big thing, but it's a gift. We cannot give it to ourselves, but when we've got it, when we're told, have faith in God, and we say, Lord, I do. I want to believe this. I want to believe everything you tell us. Then we've got something wonderful in us, which is a gift, as we're told in another book of the Bible, what Paul said about by grace are you saved through faith, not of yourselves. It is the gift of God. Or, in another passage of the Bible, God, of course, is invisible. So if I had prayed earlier, I might have used the words immortal, invisible, God, only wise, in light, inaccessible, hid from our eyes, most blessed, most glorious, the Ancient of Days, almighty, victorious, thy great name we praise. So faith is a wonderful gift if you've got it. If you haven't got it, you ask. But if you're asking for it, I'm pretty well sure you're on the way to having it. But at the same time, we do need to practice our faith. And that means what we come to believe, not to doubt. And at the same time, to show a spirit of forgiveness to anybody who offends us, whether it's a boy, whether it's a girl, whether it's our mother, whether it's our father, whether it's somebody we know, somebody we don't know. Forgiveness is a wonderful thing, and we need to appreciate that if we've got this ability, it's all the gift of God. So that's my first point, that I want us to take the challenge. Jesus said to his disciples, his apostles, have faith in God. And see, as I put my faith in God and I curse the tree, look, next day it's withered. It's dead. It's going to fall down, and that's the end of it. So, we may have within us, through Christ, the ability to ask for big things and to look for them. And so that brings me to my second point this morning. faith is something that can get bigger and bigger and bigger. Faith can change our life amazingly. From being weak to becoming strong and powerful. And so let me give you two examples. Now let me take you to the Old Testament. And I like saying this name, you see, Zerubbabel. So you may say, never heard of Zerubbabel before.
Oh my.
You haven't. Let me explain. In the Old Testament, there's so much to learn. But in the book we were reading from, Zechariah, he is a prophet. And he comes to who? To Zerubbabel. Oh, so I answer your question. Who is Zerubbabel? Answer, he is a grandson of a king who surrendered to Nebuchadnezzar many years earlier. Why? Because Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon, dictator, attacked Jerusalem. Why? Because they were under judgment. And God was saying, you've got so many idols, even in the temple. It is shocking, that I'm going to destroy Jerusalem. And I'm going to capture loads of you and take you like slaves to Babylon. And one of the third sons of Josiah, called Jehoiachin, surrendered when Nebuchadnezzar came. He'd only been a king for 3 months, but Nebuchadnezzar came and said, surrender to me. I'm taking you to Babylon. So he went, and you can read about this in the last books of 2 Kings and Chronicles. He went with his wife, or wives. He went with his mother. He went with a lot of servants. But when he went to Babylon, he was put in prison. But though he was put in prison, it wasn't prison like we may know prison. It was probably a big suite of rooms for this royal family to live. And so this king, Jehoiachin, had a son. You read about him in Matthew 1. And then he had a son. So this is the grandson of Jehoiachin, and he called him Zerubbabel. Why that Babylonish name? Because he's in Babylon. He's a Jew, and he's in the line of Jesus Christ. And it's so important that the line of Jesus Christ continued until Jesus Christ was born. So it's very important how God kept the family from David right up until you meet Joseph, who married Mary, but who you know is not the father of Jesus Christ, only legally. Anyway, Zerubbabel became the prince in the line of Christ. And so later, when Nebuchadnezzar had died and the Babylonian Empire is finished, and there's a new emperor called Cyrus, who's been influenced by Daniel, who I want to speak about tonight, he said to the Jewish people, not only is this royal family to come out of prison and eat at my table, but also any Jews who want to go home, back to Israel, back to Jerusalem, build the temple, is welcome to do so. And Zerubbabel is the prince. And so we read about him in the books of Ezra and Nehemiah and how he went back to Jerusalem. Yes, but when he gets to Jerusalem, what does he find? Loads of rubbish. And it's such a big pile of rubbish that a lot of people said, oh, we'll never get rid of all these stones. How are we going to build anything like what used to be the temple? And so a lot of people, you see, are lacking in faith. But the prophet comes and says, Zerubbabel, don't be put off by this massive tower of rubbish. God says, you will remove all the rubbish, you will not only lay the foundation, you will build the new temple, and then you will be saying, grace, grace unto it. It will be very much a wonderful effort by everybody with Zerubbabel, because they've got faith. God is working his purpose out. And so you can read the story that I've tried to tell you quickly from that book of Zechariah. It shows if you've got confidence in God, if you believe what he's called you to do, and you get on with it, and you say, Lord, I may be weak, but with your help I can do this and I can do that. Please carry on helping me. Wonderful things can happen. Wonderful things. And then I want to, before I finish, talk about London. Why? I was born in London. I was born in 1931. I was born as a second in 2 baby boys, twins being born. My brother came half an hour before I did. Anyway, I was born in London, and I was born in a place known as Lambeth or Clapham. I could tell quite a lot of things about how my life changed, even during the Second World War. But the thing I want to say before I finish this morning is this. I eventually, in my second church, went to an area of London called Highbury. And I lived in Highbury for nearly 30 years. 18 years as the minister of Highbury Baptist Church, and then 12 years in charge of what was called the Foreign Missions Club. And moving around in Highbury, I discovered that there was a place in Newington Green which had my text right at the top. Have faith in God. And I remember thinking, look at that marvellous building, telling everybody who goes by in buses or taxis or walking by, have faith in God. Who put it there? Hudson Taylor. Hudson Taylor, who got called to go to China. And when he went to China, he said, I'd like to see another 100 missionaries. And he prayed, Lord, send 100 more missionaries. And he got 100 more missionaries. And so today, it's not called Hudson Taylor so much as China Inland Mission, which later became today Overseas Missionary Fellowship. And wonderful things are going on in China. And why? Well, if you go back, it's because Hudson Taylor was so wonderfully a man of faith that he managed to pray and great things began to happen. And it's still there. That building may not now be the headquarters of the China Inland Mission. I think they probably moved into another building. But that big building hasn't been destroyed, and it's got at the very top I can see it in my mind's eye as I go by in a bus. Have faith in God. And that's my call to you this morning. We all need, especially in the evil days in which we are living, we all need to have the kind of words that Jesus said to the Apostle Peter. Have faith in God. Can I leave those words with you? Please don't forget them. And don't forget the rubber ball. And don't forget London. Amen.
Amen.